Miracles of Love and Power is a short two-stanza poem that's really become one of my favorites by Emmy Barber. It was originally published in her volume Verses of a Pilgrim, and Christian Chen published that, I think in the 80s or so, in a little book called Anchored to Infinity. But that book is out of print, and somehow this little poem slipped through the cracks when Jim Riskey was putting together A Seed Sown in China. This is the one poem that is not in there. And it's, of all the ones that I've kind of found, it's really a gem. And even now, compared to, as a part of all 52 hymns, it's still one of my favorites. So I wanted to share it with you all today. This poem is a great example of a song message, as she would call it. We can clearly trace back and forth an intimate exchange between Miss Barber and the Lord. There's a sweetness in their exchange that just lingers over every line. And in this poem, we can hear a message for ourselves, and I personally just long for the same kind of intimacy that she exhibits with the Lord. So here's the poem. I'll read the whole thing. Miracles of love and power, work for me, Lord, hour by hour. Make the path that I must tread be the glory overhead. God said, "Fear not," as my feet crossed the threshold of the year. And I answered, "Blessed Lord, having thee, what can I fear?" What a great short poem. I want to start at the end with what I think is the setting of the poem. Look at the beginning of the second stanza. God said, "Fear not," when? As my feet crossed the threshold of the year. What's the threshold of the year? That's not a common phrase that I'm used to. Well, a threshold is like a boundary of a house or a property, and but it's of the year. So perhaps she's talking about when the new year just crosses over on the clock, when it comes in, that boundary. For me, this setting of this poem is she is spending the last hours of a year, say 1922 or something, before the Lord, perhaps reviewing what he's done in the past, but really praying for the future. And as that clock clicks through into the new year, she's having this kind of exchange. Well, what does she pray for? Looking at the year to come, she asks, "Lord, miracles of love and power, work for me, Lord, hour by hour." She doesn't say exactly, are there challenges, are there concerns, are there problems, but she knows she's going to need miracles. And I really love that it's miracles of love and power, not just power. It's one thing just to want power, but actually the miracle that she's asking for when things come through, when prayers are answered, when God works a miracle for you, it shows he's really there with you. There's love there. More than the power, there's love for you, that you are obedient in the way that he's asked. You have set out in faith in the way that he wants. It's a confirmation that he is with you. There's a miracle of love. The miracle shows love to her. And then make the path that I must tread be the glory overhead. She might see a lot of challenges in the path the next year may hold for her, but she prays that every step would really just produce before the glory of the Lord that is over her every time. And overhead is interesting. Be the glory overhead. She wants to walk through the year just under the covering of the glory, the satisfaction of the Lord on her life. Well, God has a response. Short word, fear not. That's all he had to whisper to her. Fear not, as her feet crossed the threshold of the year. And in response to that, she just quickly can just say back to the Lord, "Blessed Lord, having thee, what can I fear?" That's really precious. All it takes is one little word from the Lord to comfort her, to settle her spirit. If you have a word from the Lord, it just lets you know you're with him and he is with you. And that is, in the end, the most precious thing. All kinds of things may happen in life or in one's ministry, things you expect, things you don't want to happen, challenges, frustrations. But if the Lord is with you and you have the Lord, what else can we ask for? That's the real assurance that we're following him, that we're in his hand, and we're really in the place that he wants us to be. So whatever is in front of her that she would pray for, she may be concerned about, she can say, well, having thee, Lord, what can I fear? That's the real blessing, is having the power and assurance of his presence. Well, I pray that you as well may have the Lord and be just content in his hand. This is miracles of love and power. I would say one last thing. She put in the inscription above the poem, the verse Deuteronomy 8:7, right from the passage where Moses is detailing the riches of the good land, the promised land that Joshua and the others were to walk into. It's a rich description of all the provision of himself, God's self, that we have in Christ, and what we can find and grow and mine and develop and draw from in our spiritual life. And this is what she was looking for. I have maybe some things where God would tell me, fear not. So maybe she has some things to be afraid of in the coming year. But she also is seeing all the Christ, all the blessing, all the richness that is promised for her walking under the Lord's hand. Well, that's miracles of love and power.